This is Film Festival Secrets, a podcast about the art, business, and celebration of independent film. I'm Chris Holland, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about one of the most common questions I get from filmmakers, and that is, how do I narrow down the choices of festivals that I have from the thousands that are out there down to the ones that are most appropriate for me? This is really hard, especially for beginning filmmakers who don't have a lot of festival experience. But there are some things you can do to really quickly and easily take some of the guesswork out of this. It does involve some research. It does involve some sort of self-examination. But I think you'll see over the next few minutes, it's not that hard to start winnowing your choices down to, a pretty good selection that's, you don't have to research a zillion of them on the internet all at once. First, there's a mindset question. And what I mean by that is that many of the choices we make in life, as in film festivals, are emotional decisions. We make decisions based on the way we feel about things, and then we look for the reasons that are out there to support that emotional decision. And as, somebody who's submitting to the film festivals, you may feel like the pressure of deadlines and the fear that you're going to miss out because you're not submitting to festivals, these deadlines that are going by all the time, that's very much a myth. That's what they want you to feel. They want you to feel that urgency of, it's time to submit to us now. Not in a malicious way, of course, but, if you are going to submit to them and all these festivals want the best selection, widest selection of films they can possibly have, giving you that sense of urgency is an important thing for them to do. But when you realize that, number one, there are two main seasons of festivals, spring and fall, and that, there's always another cycle of festivals coming up, you can sort of take yourself out of that urgency and think about things in a more rational way. I highly advise only ever submitting to a festival's early deadline. Maybe a regular deadline if you feel like it's a huge, really great fit and that there's some time sensitivity around your film. But for the most part, short films can last on the circuit for a year to 18 months sometimes. And feature films generally have between 8 to 12, sometimes longer, 8 to 12 months to do their festival run. And that clock really doesn't start ticking until your premiere happens. It may really hurt to sit on your film for a few months and to wait that long for something to happen. But if you're rushing things and you're submitting rough cuts and things like that, you're probably hurting your chances more than you're helping them. You're probably doing, getting further away from your goal of having your film play a festival than getting closer. So right off the bat, you can probably eliminate half of your choices, at least for now, simply by only considering festivals with upcoming earlier regular deadlines. After that, it's a matter of thinking not so much what festivals you should be submitting to, but what is it about your film that's going to attract a festival to it, and which festivals out there are looking for what your film in particular has. So the two things that I really suggest you look at are, first of all, the identity of your film, and second of all, the identity of your identity. Let's start with the film. Films, we can go with the basics. Is your film a short? Is it a feature-length film? Is it a documentary or is it a narrative? Those things can eliminate festivals. Obviously there are shorts-only festivals out there. There are documentary festivals only out there. And, that can help you start to categorically narrow down your choices. If your film is a special format, if it's animated, if it's experimental, that narrows your choices down even further. Once you get sort of those basic things out of the way, then you start looking at subject matter and the specialty audiences that you have there. There's a film festival for everything these days. There's, food film festivals and festivals around gender identity and festivals around ancestry and festivals around every special interest. There's a bicycle film festival. And finding that niche, really looking at who's represented by your film, is key to finding the festivals that are going to make it, are going to accept your film. So if you've got a documentary short about biscuits and gravy, right? Then you can really start to look at, okay, so what festivals are out there that are interested in films about food? Oh, hey, there's a handful of food film festivals out there. That's a really great place to start. You want to start with festivals in locales that have those interests. So starting with festivals in the South would probably be a good idea. Festivals, getting into the location a little bit, festivals that are in the place where the film was shot or around the place where the film was shot. Local interest is always, a big sort of thumbs up with festivals. So those are the things that can really start to narrow things down in a hurry. Also look at your film's cast and crew. Sometimes there's a lot of emphasis placed on, having name actors in a film. That obviously is a plus if you've got it, but it's not a must-have. But go to your cast, go to your crew and say, what festivals have the films that you've worked on played before? And do you have any connections at those festivals from attending with them or working with them that, you can leverage to help bring some attention to this new project? So that's, identifying the film. But then there's also your identity. And I think this is one of the more overlooked pieces of the puzzle. What is it about you that will attract a film festival to your film? These can be things like gender. There are lots of film festivals out there for women these days. Ethnicity, religion, sexuality. The gay and lesbian circuit is huge in terms of, the number of festivals that are out there. And because there's not that much programming, that much content for them to give to their audience, it's a really nice niche to fit into if you can fit into it. I wouldn't push that too much. If you've played festivals before, you should be asking every single festival you've ever played with a film that you've directed or produced to give you a waiver to submit. I mean, festivals should be more than happy to continue to look at the work of people whose work they've approved and exhibited before. That's a really important thing not to overlook. Okay, so what else can we look at? Your location, where you live now, and the place where you're from, if it's different, and even if that's not where you filmed, festivals really like it when they think that maybe you've got a local fan base that you can draw on to bring people out to the theater. So, make a big deal out of that. If you grew up in Atlanta, let's say, and then moved to Texas or New York or whatever, and, that's still a hometown advantage. You're still allowed to go back and say, my parents still live in Atlanta and I've got a bunch of people that I know that I can bring out to the theater. That's still an important, that counts as being local. Related to that, maybe not quite so much your identity, but things to consider about yourself would be, what's the likelihood that you will attend the festival if you get into it? If you have some incentive, some motivation to go to the festival, that's really good for you and your career in the film. And if you're not going to the festivals where your film is playing, then I think you're missing part of the point. Think about places where you can stay cheaply, places where you have friends or family that you can stay with, places that are in driving distance where you could get to easily. Or places that you simply want to go. If you've always wanted to go to Paris, and you know that if you got into a film festival in Paris, you would absolutely freaking go, then, you might want to put French festivals more on your radar than, say, festivals in other places where you're just not that interested in going. That may seem a little silly, but again, showing up, the career day aspect of the film festival is really important. And that's a legitimate reason to put a festival on your list. Lastly, I want to, especially if you're in a country or a state that has high support for the arts, do some research into what grants are available to you to both attend and to submit to festivals. Some states in the United States, not many, but some, and particularly governments like Canada or Europe or other more enlightened places in the world, have government assistance for artists and will either help you pay submissions fees, maybe to a pre-approved list of festivals, or will help you attend those festivals if you get in. So make sure you look into that. That can help guide sort of your festival path. Once you have these two sets of identifiers down, it's time to start using search tools on Withoutabox and Film Freeway and Google to a certain extent to look at what festivals are out there that serve those identifiers, that are really interested in the identity of your film and the identity of yourself. There is a whole world of, research and work to be done after this point, but this is a really good way to jumpstart it in just a few minutes and have a better handle on what's an appropriate festival for you and what isn't. If you want to learn more, there's a write-up of this and more about festival strategy at filmfestivalsecrets.com/identity. Visit that. You can do some more reading. I'm Chris Holland. You can find me at filmfestivalsecrets.com or at FFsecrets on the Twitter. Thanks for listening.